proposing 3 separate 3-unit buildings. As many of you know, this area does have a mix of housing stock. So to the left of us, if you're looking at the screen, the blue house is actually a 3-unit building now with limited parking. There's 2 families behind us. There's 1 families. There's an apartment complex, and then there's the Suffolk Downs development, who will be our neighbor across the street. So there is a mix, even though this is a 1F area. And as much as this is one project for 9 units, we really wanted to look at this as 3 separate 3-family buildings, because that is how we designed it. We didn't make this a 1-block building. We've cut down on things like height and density and FAR and rear setbacks and increasing open space and our parking ratio to get to the point where we are now, that we can still make this a viable condominium project for sale. So the rendering that you're seeing now with the pitched roofs of the 3 separate buildings, as you know now, there's 3 1-family homes there now, but they're in, some are dilapidated, some need extensive work. They're small houses, they don't really fit in the area. And I think we've universally heard that folks want to see something else go there, because what's there now is an eyesore. And so in our process of working with both this group and the zoning subcommittee and the neighbors, we were able to reduce the footprint and the unit count from this building from a 15-unit, 3 separate 5-unit buildings to 9 units, 3 separate 3-unit buildings. And at our last abutter meeting, we presented this as well. So I'm going to get into, and then again, we don't have our architect here tonight. Eric Zackerson's away, but Context and Eric is the architect on the project. So again, the proposal, as I had described, is to erect 3 new residential buildings. These would each contain 3 separate condominium units. They're all similar in size, 2-bed, 2-bath. So these aren't massive units. We've really tried to cut them down in size. We have 3 parking spaces that go along with each of those buildings. So it's 1-for-1 parking ratio. The previous iteration was 4 units the last time we presented to the group. Before that, it was 5 units. And our lot size is 3,800 square feet each, which is pretty similar to most of the lots in the area and behind us as well. And so we also are restoring 1 curb cut, but we're going to have 2. We have 3 now, or maybe even 4, because one of them takes up the whole frontage of the building. Those curb cuts will lead to the underground parking. So we're able to submerge, because of the grade change, the parking is all below surface parking, which gives us, 1, the ability to hide the parking from our neighbors or keep it low. And then B, have more open space as well as rear yard space for the project. What you're looking at here is the BPDA map. It's the zoning viewer map. So you can just see the 3 lots comprised right here along Waldemar. Our neighbor right here in this building, that is a 3-unit building, just to point out. So it's something that we're keeping continuity on that side. This is just an aerial view to see the whole section. You can see where Suffolk Downs is located right across the street from us, and there is no housing directly across the street from us. Just an idea of, we are proposing 9 units, but we're not the only multifamily building in the area. Aside from the 3, directly across the street from us diagonally is 75 Waldemar Ave, which is 16-unit housing complex. Down the street at 5 Waldemar Ave is a multifamily development. And then we have 16 Waldemar Ave, which is 7 to 30 units multifamily at the corner. And then there's in our rear neighbors, there's a number of 2s. There's also 3s as you start going down the street and Faywood Ave. And there's also a mix of housing 2s and 1s and 3s as you go down Waldemar Ave as well. This is the area. So these are our lots on the left-hand side, and you can see the open space across from us where the Suffolk Downs development will begin. This is our lots looking down Waldemar the other way, and you can see the larger building across from us. You can see there's a couple of one families across from us as well. And that's looking directly across from the site from us where the tree stands now. And these are our houses. So you can see the condition that the buildings are in. They don't fit in this area at all. By code, we were able to get the building height to what's allowable in feet to 35 feet. These buildings are all mixed. You can see the size of this massive curb cut. The zoning board wouldn't even allow front yard parking anymore to be cut a curb like this. So we're going to restore some of that and really get rid of these buildings that are here now. This is just a front elevation. Just you can see the 3, 92, 96, 104, where they line up in a row. And there's some decking that's involved as well. And we have the pitched roof for design. Just to go over the zoning code and what we would be seeking variances for. This particular district is zoned as a 1F, and because we're proposing 3F on each site, we would need a use variance. We are slightly under minimum lot size, so that's 4,000. We're proposing 3,800. We would meet lot width, lot frontage. We've now brought our FAR down to 1. What's allowable is 0.5, but many of the buildings around us are at a 1 or greater. So we were able to reduce that, but we still need a variance for FAR. We meet the height requirement of 35 feet, although we do have, because the pitched roof, 3 stories, so we would need a variance for stories, not height. Open space, even though none is required, we've got 1,584 square feet plus our decks. Front yard, we're modal, so side yard, it varies from 3 feet to 7. But again, we've got 12-foot passageways for driveways in between the buildings as well. We were able to get our rear yard up to almost 40 feet, and 35 is what's required. And then we have 3 parking spaces per unit, so we meet the parking requirement. This just shows our ground floor plan. So you can see how the 3 buildings line up, 92, 94, right in 104. So you can see now we have these curb cuts in between. So we've got only 2 curb cuts. Before I showed you the picture, they have the whole frontage plus 2 other curb cuts. That'll all be restored. And now we will have 2 curb cuts that will access the 9 parking spaces. So all of the area in the back will remain green space. We have unit 1, so all of the buildings will have 1,000 square foot, 2-bed, 2-bath, unit 1. As we go up to the 2nd and 3rd floor, they are mirror images, so unit that will house units 2 and 3, and those are all 2-bed, 2-bath with front and rear decks, and that gives us our 39-foot 6-inch rear setback. So you can see each building would have the same rear setback. It would go over the covered parking, so the parking would be submerged, which would not be visible. This is just our elevations, and you can see front, and you can see some decking and pitched roofs. You can see some of the different designs of the building because we try to put some character to each building. And just continuing on side and rear elevations and front elevations. This is front and this is rear. And then we're looking at our left elevation. So if you're at 92 Waldemar, you can see the grade change, how it goes back. So the parking would be able to be hidden underneath the grade. And you can see that significant slope change. And that is why to our neighbors in the rear, out their windows and properties, they would see over the building as you get to their top floors. And again, we're not going over the height requirement anyway. Plus, those buildings are an additional 40 to 30 to 40 feet set back from the property line. So we're talking about almost 40 feet from our buildings to the back rear yard setback plus another 30 to 40 feet to get to those buildings that are our neighbors in the rear. So almost an 80-foot setback from the building to building. And you can see our right elevation for 104 Waldemar, just again to see the grade change. And then we showed this, I believe, at our last abutter meeting. This is where our underground parking would go, patio on top of it, and rear yard space. And then you can really see Eric designed it. So if you were 91 Faywood, let's say, and this was being built in front of you at 96, you could see the significant grade change. You can see the line of sight view. You can see the separation of our building to that building and the distance between the two. And again, these are just our renderings from the left-hand side and then the right-hand side. So similar, but also some different in color and character as well. And again, that's just a final rendering, and we can answer any questions that folks have.
Thank you. Well, there's questions in the comments, but I'll start with the raised hand. So Gail, if you'd like to go ahead. Gail, are you able to unmute?
Oh, okay, there it goes. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we in this neighborhood are very hot to trot about saving our zoning. And of course, while you've brought it down from 15 to 9, you're going to densify that whole area, make it look like a big wall. There's not that much space between everything, and the height is going to look like a wall. And your rendering here shows that your roof line looks like only a little bit higher than the little house on the right. So in reality, that's not what it's going to look like when it's built. And I want to speak in favor of the neighbors and the abutters and our zoning here in the community. I don't care all the sightings that you've proclaimed to be here and existing, but those were pre-existing for the most part. Suffolk Downs, as Diane says, is only going to be putting one family homes across from this project. And I just think it's too big as well. So we're losing our one family homes, and I'll leave it there and have others speak. And I live on Orient Ave. So thank you.
Thank you, Gail. So just to point out, I know you said the buildings look high. We really tried to, and we did cut down on the height of the buildings, and we actually met the height requirement, which is 35 feet. So, if someone, even I know you said go by the zoning code, if someone went by the zoning code and built a one family, that one family could by code be 35 feet in height. So, and I know you made a point, you feel it's still too big, but we also have to weigh that there is a 3-family and we're matching the height of the building to the left. I would argue that this little, the smaller house, although it is a 1-family, I would say it's a smaller building within the area. And, if you went by code, that house could go up to 35 feet if they wanted to. By right on that lot. So, and we also have to weigh in, those 3 buildings have been an eyesore. They're, really
Well,
the way they're set up. I mean, front yard parking, one massive curb cut on the front. We are proposing 3 3-unit buildings. If someone was to just come in and buy these one at a time, it would be 3-unit. Obviously, the Crespo Group bought 3, and we really tried to get to a point where we can still keep these as market rate condominiums. We can still make a product that can be sold, especially in these sort of times right now, where the market is fluctuating and the cost of materials has skyrocketed. we really tried to do everything that we could to appease the comments and neighbors' comments that we heard.
Well, I believe our initial comments were they were all too big, whether it's 15 or 9. So there's
Yeah,
not
but we
much.
also heard people say, well, why don't you reduce it? We could live with 3, we could, 3-unit buildings, we could have 6, we heard a lot of different things.
I thought they said 3 1-families, but
there were some people that said that too. So,
no, it's way outside the zoning code, and we are, we're really getting ramrodded in the neighborhood. So, I mean, there's no respect for zoning, and that's a problem we have with developers and the zoning board of appeals. So I guess we'll have to see with the zoning board. Thank you.
I think Patricia had her hand raised and was next. If you'd like to unmute yourself, Patricia.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not very well at speaking, but I agree with the woman that just spoke. I'm not into the sizes and the height, but I live like 3 houses down from where you're planning to build. And you said this is a mixed neighborhood of housing. It is not. Out of like 45 houses on my block, okay, 3 of them are multifamily. What is that? 42 houses are 1-family houses. This is my neighborhood, 1-family houses. I've lived here for very many years. What you're wanting to bring in here, okay, even if your parking is underground, that means nothing, okay? What's happening in my neighborhood is a disgrace that the zoning people just don't care about. Now, I can't even get out of my street. I've said this before. Just with the little building that has gone on right now, I have to go around the world to get off of my street to go to work. It is not mixed. It is a 1-family district in Orient Heights. I thought that we were like a historic part of East Boston. I thought that the old codes would stand up. I don't know who's passing these things, but it is wrong in my eyes. We don't need multi-dwellings on this street. It is a 1-family district of Orient Heights, and I'm just against it 100%. If you want to build 1-family homes and tear down the ones that are there right now, that's fine. But to say that we're mixed is a lie, because it's only 3 buildings out of 45. That does not make us mixed. It's predominantly a 1-family neighborhood district. You bringing in these buildings, it's going to take away our I don't know how to say it, our way of life. Okay, it's not healthy. It's not going to make us happy. You're going to decrease our health and welfare. I truly believe that. It's already decreasing with what's going on around us. No, I'm against it 100%. I think it's wrong, and I think we should go by the codes. The zoning codes, I don't know if they're outdated, but they made those for a reason. 1-family neighborhood districts should stay 1-family and should not go above that. That's my thoughts on it. Thank you for listening to me. Tell me that you heard me.
We heard you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, there were old codes like Article 53. And also another one said that the neighborhood, like the residents had to say in things. But, these buildings are going up left and right all over us. East Boston is overdeveloped to the max, never mind just my street. It is a nightmare already with traffic, with everything that's going on. It is a nightmare. And to add on to my street, I think is just totally wrong. Again, thank you for listening to me.
Thanks, Patricia. I don't know if you want to comment, or we can have some more questions, Jeff.
oh yeah, no, I can point out, and I respect Patricia's opinion. I can only speak to what's around these particular parcels. I didn't go up and down and do a count, but I can tell you there are definitely 3. There are multiple 2-families directly behind us as our direct abutters. There's a 1-family to the right of us. There is a 3-family to the left of us. There's an apartment complex along with 2 1s across the street from us. And there is the Suffolk Downs development that's our neighbor across the street, even though that particular section may be where the one families are going. But it is a large development. The zoning
right,
board is
yeah.
going to look at, and the abutters that will be notified would be in a 300-foot radius. So that'll be our rear abutters and 300 feet in a circle that they draw. So the board will know, and look at the buildings behind us, the buildings to the left, the buildings to the right, and the buildings across the street as well. So, and as you go further down Waldemar, there are larger buildings at the corners. There's the housing development, a hop skip right from here. That's been around. I know that's been around forever, but they did rebuild it. And so there are multifamily buildings within a one-family district, including the building right to the left of us. So even though this is a 1F district, you're 100% right. It is not a historic district at all. It's Eagle Hills, the only historic district, and it's not a landmark district. It's historic. So, unfortunately, it isn't historic, but it is a one-family district, but the code did allow at some point through the zoning process for those to become multifamily dwellings within a 1F district. I can also tell you that people do have a voice. So as part of this process, this is our third meeting before the zoning subcommittee. We've had multiple abutter meetings. We've had multiple meetings. We still have to come back for a vote. And then we'll go on to the zoning board of appeal, where everyone that's on a butter will have a right to be heard. So there is a process for it.
Okay, we'll continue. There's two Dianes with their hands up. Can we start with Diane? Is it DiGiacomo? Sorry if I didn't say that correctly.
DiGiacomo, Diane DiGiacomo.
DiGiacomo, go ahead.
Yeah, I live a couple doors down. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Hi. Well, as you obviously know, we're all opposed to this. So, and we all know that, they snuck in some multiple families over the years. I've been here 61 years. And I just want to say one thing, as I said in the chat. So, if we approve this project, right, that opens up the door to Suffolk Downs. And we've had several meetings over the last 6-7 years. They agreed to put one families across the street. They agreed to a park actually across from this project. I mean, they worked with us. So why would we want the zoning to change? Because if this were to go through, then they're going to put multiple families across the street. So, I mean,
No.
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so this would have each building in the zoning code is looked individual from every other one. So there's a whole separate process for every building. So just because a 3-family went here doesn't mean, given the size and scope and the agreements that went on across the street, that would change.
Right. Again, you're trying to change the zoning. So if the zoning changes.
I'm not trying to change, but just to be clear, we're not going to change the zoning for the district. We're only trying to get relief for these particular lots. So this area would still remain a 1F district unless the BPDA went through a whole public process to change that.
Okay, well, we all talk. So if we have to, we all spoke, if we have to hire an attorney to fight this, we will. I hope it doesn't get to that. I think building 3 one-families, they could get $1 million a piece, brand new. I think there's a lot of profit in that, but that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. And then would the other Diane, whose hand is raised and's been patient, unmute and ask your question?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Go right ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So, hi, Jeff. So I'm looking at these rendering proposed 3-family buildings that you have here. First of all, whoever engineered or architect the style, it's so ridiculous. You got a 1-family on one side and you got another 1-family or a 2-family on the other side. If you see the way these buildings look, they're so ridiculous. I live across the street at 91, you know that. So I built my house 22 years ago. A 1-family wanted to build a 2-family, could not. The traffic on Waldemar Ave is overbearing. Talk about the Heights projects. There was just another major 6-car accident there the other night because this car's parked on both sides of the street. And these other buildings past my home, going down near Wally Street, those have all been grandfathered in. And then we have to deal with Suffolk Downs' property, multifamily, 10,000 units. You serious right now? Why don't you just make a bridge to go house to house and then make a deck to go deck to deck so everybody can breathe on one another? This ain't happening. Go back to your drawing board, tell your architects to make it a 1-family with an in-law or a 2-family, because we're not going to breathe on top of everybody like we have been. And where's your overflow of parking going? So you mean to tell me if you have 3 families, 1 car designated, so you got 3 spots in each building, where's the overflow of parking going to go? Where's the guests going to go? So you mean to tell me nobody else is going to have a car except for 1 person that's going to buy that unit? I mean, be serious. So I'm dead against this project. If you want to come back with 1 families with in-law or a 2-family, I'll support that. But those houses, the way they look now, they don't even look like they fit in. They look ridiculous. So that's my opinion. And like everybody says, we'll fight this to the end. I know I will. So I wanted to come up the Heights, built my home, breathe the fresh air. And now we're surrounded with all this. And then we have to deal with this major street, fire apparatuses going by, police going by, car accidents, cars parked on both sides of the street. This ain't happening. So do what you have to do. That's how I feel about this all. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion.
Why don't we have Brooke? I see your hands up. You're next.
Good evening. My voice has remained consistent about this project that to demolish single families, which are rare and highly sought after in East Boston for non-compliant condominium buildings, is unacceptable. And we're going through this process because the law doesn't allow it. And the reason for the law is to maintain the character of existing neighborhoods. The lots are very small for the size of the buildings that are being proposed. And on top of that, the buildings, as they're currently designed, occupy practically the entire parcel of land. The law requires a 10-foot side yard and 15-foot front yards, and those are absent in this proposal. I will take issue with the claiming for meeting the rear setback, because the covered parking does not meet. The covered parking goes very, very close to the rear setback. I have asked for what covered parking looks like. I'm disappointed that having this meeting again, this is the same proposal that we saw a month ago, and we see no updates to show that. I'm also disappointed that the developers called for a face-to-face meeting with the abutters. They heard our feedback, and this proposal does not show that any of it was considered. I'm really unhappy and consider, honestly, that a waste of my time. It doesn't get buy-in from the abutters to call us to meet on the site and then show us the same proposal since then. These buildings encroach on the neighboring properties. They're out of place. They take away from the greenscape and the yards that make this part of Orient Heights so desirable. This place has character, so we will oppose this project. We will oppose the other ones that are being, there's another one door down, that's similar in size and scale. Yeah, I think that you didn't get anything from meeting with us because you showed us the same proposal twice in a row.
So let me answer a couple of those points. So one, we actually do have almost a 40-foot setback, and the reason why the parking is not visible, it's submerged. It's underground to the back because of the slope of the hill. But if you can see right here, if you were the back building, parking is under here. This would be the line of sight, and this would be the distance between 91 Faywood to where our building and our decks are. So that's almost about 70 feet, which is significant by any zoning across the city. And I handle projects from West Roxbury to East Boston. I can also tell you we do meet the rear setback. So what's required, so if somebody else even put a one family here, 35 feet, we're at almost 40. So we're over that. If you went by the height requirement, 35 feet is allowable under the code. So we are trying to meet the code 1-for-1 parking at this ratio. So yes, the parking will be underground, which is a good thing because A, it's not visible to the back of butters, B, it maintains the rear setback, and C, it does provide 1-for-1 parking at a time when BPDA and the city of Boston are asking us to do much less than 1-for-1 parking and try to encourage other modes of transportation. So, those are just a few points.
Well, I'm going to take issue with that because as you can see, the covered parking goes much closer than the 40 feet. I also, it was mentioned at the on-site meeting that I don't understand how the height is feasible, given that that's three floors with a pitched roof, and that meets the height requirements. I'm struggling to see how that's even possible.
Possible on most projects across the city.
I haven't seen one. And to claim victory on meeting the height. So it's supposed to be 2.5 stories.
I just want to be clear that this has been reviewed by an architect and plans examiner from the city of Boston. I didn't cite my own violations. That's cited by the city of Boston, where we comply and where we don't.
So it doesn't comply with the number of stories.
Correct.
So we're talking, right. When I said to claim victory, I mean to say that, we're adhering this way, but the fact that we're jamming that many stories under the height allowance, it doesn't make sense. And
we're going a half a story over the height allowance, just so you know. The height allowance is 2.5 stories.
Okay, so let's have, I think Melissa's hand is up if you'd like to speak.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
We can hear you, go right ahead.
So if you go back to that, if you see that right view photo, I live at 108 Waldemar, the building right there on the right, the single family. First, I take offense, Jeff, that you keep calling these buildings eyesores. I mean, 104 looks almost identical to our property, and we're friends with the neighbors over there.
I'm referring to the inside and the way they were built. That's in the neglect that's happened to the building. It's no reflection.
We've been inside there, and I don't think that's a issue. And well, anyways, I also agree completely with Brooke that the height here just makes sense. If you look at our property, we only have the one floor above the garage there, and our ceilings are very short already. So I just can't understand how, just cramming 3 stories would look as shown in this rendering. I just don't believe this rendering. Secondly, we bought this property at the beginning of 2021. A developer came in and had flipped the house. They made a very hefty profit off of our purchase of the property, and they kept it a single family. I believe you could do the same thing with all three of the properties. So I really think the only reason is greed to go against the zoning board here. Another concern that I have is that this road is a major artery for cars, and the street parking here is really bad. If you have tried to drive down this street with cars parked on one side, it's impossible to not go over the yellow line. So it's very dangerous. I have a small child and I am concerned about that. And so I also wanted to bring up the fact that, you're going to be doing a lot of excavating in this area, and we share a retaining wall with these properties. So I'm very concerned about what that might do to our property. Anyways, I think, Suffolk Downs, the neighbors here and the community went through a very long process to keep the integrity of the neighborhood as single families. And I don't understand why I can't adhere to the same zoning board rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to be clear, the building right to the left of us, who are almost mirrored in height, is an elevated 3-unit building. So if you can see, and I know you compared yours and the rest of the street, or a lot of folks did, but there isn't a continuity on setbacks in this area. So if you see your house here compared to this house there, it looks totally different. And this is a 3. The building is set high up already with stairs. So we're actually going to be at the height elevation pretty close to this building to the left. Behind us is elevated 2s. There's an apartment complex directly across the street. I do know it's a 1-family district, but even if someone purchased these 3 lots and put 1 families in, it could build one story at 35 feet. There's no open space requirement. There's only a 1 parking space requirement. So either way, the code does allow for something significant. I'm not even saying that's the best alternative, because in many cases, you can build something as of right that really doesn't fit or look or feel to what the neighborhood should have. So we understand things like the retaining wall. I know the Crespos came out and met with you folks and trying to go over that and resolve issues around that, and that's still ongoing. But things like open space that are not required in this district, we actually provided well over that amount. Parking, where a 3 in this area might have 1 or 2 spaces, we've got 3 per building. We have a 40-foot, 39.5-foot setback in the rear that's going to include our open space. We did lower the heights of these buildings to meet the code. I'm not saying we're meeting the 1F district requirement, but we do meet many of the zoning code requirements. And we did try to take back as much comments as we could. The feasibility of just making these 3 1s with acquisition costs and building costs is not feasible. I can just tell you that.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any more hands up. So there's a fair amount of comments. Jeff, do you want to read through them, or do you want me to go through them and ask them? What's easiest for you?
Whatever you think is better. I have no, you want me to email, type in the chat rather than, or read me?
Well, hold on. Sorry, there's one more hand that just went up. That's Joanne. So Joanne, why don't you go ahead and unmute?
Thanks, Noah. Sorry, I just put my hand up quickly. I have a question, not for Jeff, but I'd like to ask Joshua Crespo a question, if I could. Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. Josh, I know you and your family are developers in East Boston. I know that you're from East Boston and that you have developments all about. So my question to you as a developer, we've heard from the abutters here, and they should have their voices heard, no doubt. You know, they've talked about the 1 family, and et cetera, et cetera. I agree with them. And, you know, when this goes to the ZBA, they have every right to have their voices heard by the ZBA as well. It will go for vote and whatever happens, happens. But my question to you as a developer, particularly as a developer who has roots in East Boston and has lived in East Boston and knows the quality of life in East Boston and appreciates, I'm sure, what everyone has said, why will you not consider building one-family homes in this beautiful neighborhood? Why won't you do that? I don't understand. I live on Layden Street. You have something going on at the end of Boardman that, I see your sign all over the place. So I know you're involved in development in East Boston. You can't walk down the block without seeing something. And I have nothing against Crespo Construction, but as a hometown boy, so to speak, or a hometown family, why will you not build a one-family home? I got a thing today from a realtor saying, this little 1970s one-family home on Layden Street sold for $1.2 million. You know that home needs a ton of renovation, but it still sold for $1.2 million. It didn't sell to a developer. It sold to someone who's going to renovate the house and sees the quality of the property, the quality of the location, and they're willing to put money into it and invest because they know in 5-10 years time, it's going to quadruple yet again. So again, you have an opportunity here to be the developer of choice, so to speak, work with the neighborhood, participate with them, hear what they are saying, and build 3 quality one-family homes that will sell for over $1 million, no doubt, even with the cost of goods going up, even with the market probably going to get slammed with inflation. But Boston is very insular. It's not usually that badly affected by all of these things going on in our world. Yeah, your cost of goods is going up. That's supply chain stuff. The gas is up, et cetera, et cetera. That's common. I mean, I'm sure you went through that, with various ups and downs in the market. So that's my question to you. Why not? I mean, you are a neighbor. You're from Eastie. You're an East Bostonian. Why not work with these abutters and work with them to build one-family homes? That's what they're asking for. One after the other, one after the other, after the other. And I don't know why there can't be a meeting of the minds here, especially with someone from East Boston. So that's my question to you.
Joanne, I
He's
just wanna make
greedy,
sure everyone
that's
can hear
why.
me. Is everyone able to hear me?
Please don't speak out like that. Let's just allow the people to answer the questions. We don't need to say slandering kind of comments like that to people. It's unprofessional.
Well, I'm glad everyone can hear me. And Joanne, I really appreciate the question and the sentiment behind it. I appreciate everyone on here, all your time, and all your comments. We are listening. I do share it with our full team back in the office after the call. East Boston is a place that's diverse. It has a lot of different mindsets and a lot of different opinions. And, these meetings are a melting pot of those conversations where folks will have different opinions. Single families are great. Multifamilies are great. 3 units, 4 units, 2 units. There's diversity on the street with all those different types of landscapes. Me personally, I'm very connected to East Boston triple deckers. I personally grew up in a triple decker here, and it was amazing. An experience I wouldn't trade for the world. Having my family in this house with me, that's one of those multi-generational households. Not too many of those in East Boston, but there were. I know a lot of folks are shifting, whether they're passing on or moving to a different area. But again, it was amazing experience. So single families, as there's some on this street, I think for our project and what makes sense for us, we feel a triple decker will be a great fit here. We've definitely come down on the size. Again, I value everyone's opinions and what they're all sharing. And from the folks who are on the street, I know some are in support, some are not in support of the project. So these meetings are where we can hear what we can change, what we can't change, and what we want to do that we think is best for this project. So Joanne, I appreciate the question, and I'm always open to answering any questions that come our way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So I read through the comments. Most of them are just, a lot of them are build a one family, more parking. There was a comment saying they didn't know there were decks. There have always been decks, at least in the last 2 iterations that we've come forward with. So there are rear decks that go out 6 feet. But everything else was more just statements. I don't think there was any specific questions. It was more about one family and maintaining the zoning code.
Yeah, I'm just looking through real quick to make sure if someone asked a question, I would just want to make sure answer it. I do see one just asking where overflow parking would be. You just
Yeah, I mean, again, this is near the T. This is going to have 1-for-1. It's more than even the BPDA is asking for. So if there were overflow parking, it would have to go onto the street like any new development. But it's doubtful that this 9-unit development is going to cause a real parking strain in the city.
And then just one other comment, I think it came from Larry and someone else asked the same question. So they're just saying, since this district is zoned as 1F, it would seem to me that an exception would only be warranted if the development would provide some sort of large benefit to the neighborhood. How would this development benefit the neighborhood? Maybe you just speak to that for.
Yeah, so I think the Crespos would be open for any kind of mitigation if that's something that folks were looking for. And on many projects, usually it's BPDA larger projects where that happens. But I know they're committed to building and being long-term players in the city and in East Boston. So we'd be happy to work with this group or any group on mitigation. And they have done another project's mitigation. When we were a little bit larger, we were proposing affordable units. And I don't think that no one really responded to that. But one, so we'd be open to mitigation. 2, we are creating new housing. It is, new build and new construction, and there is still a housing crunch in Boston. So there's that angle, and there's the revitalization of these lots. The houses that now are very small, and these can accommodate more people and folks that are looking to come and have an opportunity for home ownership. These are not rentals. These are condominiums. So we're talking about home ownership in this section of the city, which I know in many areas of the city is important. So yeah.
Thank you. I don't see any more hands up, and I don't think anything else in the comments that haven't really been discussed already. This is the 3rd time that this project's come before the DRC. So I do appreciate you coming 3 times. And again, I also appreciate everybody else who has very strong feelings about this project for voicing them. I don't believe there are going to be any more changes to this project, Jeff, at this point. So I think we should then just go to the vote at the July meeting, and we can present again, have more discussion, and then the members can vote on the project. Unless anybody has something else for that to say about that. I think that's how we will proceed. Okay, so the only other thing is someone was asking for a sign-in sheet. There's no sign-in sheets for the DRC meetings, only for the Orient Heights monthly meetings. So there is no sign-in sheet. I think the only thing is, I don't think I have an updated presentation, Jeff. If you could just send this one, and I'll make sure I get it into our meeting minutes.
We'll do.
Otherwise, I really appreciate everybody
too.
joining us today, and have a pleasant evening. We'll see you at July 18th OHNC meeting. Thank you. Have a pleasant evening.
Right.
And yes, Natalia, I can hang out for a minute.
Thank you. Let me get my camera on.
But I do have Red Sox tickets, so.
I won't keep you more for 2 minutes because I actually have an abutters right at 6.
No, it's okay. I'm just, no big deal. I'm gonna start removing people here. And for anybody else who's still here, the meeting is over, so please sign off. If you don't, in the next minute, I'm going to sign you off. Okay. Okay, I think everybody's going.
Thank you for allowing me a couple of minutes. So there's a proposal that's started the community process for a billboard where the Madonna billboard already is. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I don't think
No,
so.
okay. So they probably haven't reached out. And my guess is that they haven't reached out because they know about the lack of people trying to, the whole thing that you guys are going through right now with the board. But I also don't want them to override.
So we do have 2 people who are going to take over.
Great. Okay. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'll have the lawyer reach out because he suggested they're dissolving. So I don't think we need to go to the board. I'm like, yes, you do. So I'll have him reach out to you directly, to the board, and see if we can get them in the agenda for next month or something.
Yeah, so we don't meet in August, obviously.
Okay.
And then the new board will take over in September. If they want to speak at the July 18th meeting, they can, yeah. So I got to get that agenda out the Monday before, but if they can reach out this week or something, or next week, I can probably get that done.
Okay, that's actually perfect. I am going to reach out to the lawyer tonight and let him know to reach out so he could be in the agenda for July. So that way he doesn't have to wait till September. But yeah, it's gonna be a electronic billboard that they're trying to propose.
Our members are gonna love that.
Of course, they're gonna go crazy about it. We already had the abutters meeting. It was,
Yeah, I know. These meetings are wearing on me, so that's why I've been stepping down.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. You have a difficult group that you work with.
Yes.
So the abutters meeting was very 50-50. They also brought a lot of people from other parts of East Boston. This is the Madonna's church that's actually proposing.
Yeah.
So we are not taking stances at the moment, but the administration and the mayor really hates billboards. So this is probably a project that we will definitely be weighing in. But I still want them to go through the full community process as they should.
Absolutely.
So I'll have them reach out because we were very uncertain with, I didn't know that if anybody had stepped in to take the role. So,
Yeah. Well, after, 5 months of asking people to, I got 2 emails on the same day about a week ago.
Okay, good. Okay, that's good. All right. Yeah, because I did not want.
And I'm going to present them at the July 18th meeting, and I hope the board, the members vote yes, because I don't know what I'll do, because we're missing some criteria in terms of the bylaws, and I know we have some sticklers. But I'm gonna just say, I don't know what else you want. It's gonna end.
It's either that or, you know, and it's in their best interest to have the board.
To have it, absolutely. And the two people who want to take over seem like very cool young people, so I think it'll be very good for them.
Okay, well, I'm happy that, you know, it's resolving, because we were at the office very nervous for like about 2 weeks. I was like, oh my God, like you guys are a huge group, so not having that representation from your side, it's very difficult.
But something they're gonna have to deal with, because, you know, we came on after a 2-year term of the previous people, but they stayed on for 9 months or something because nobody would volunteer. And I've already received emails from members saying what I'm doing is illegal. I can't step down. I'm like, this is a volunteer position.
Yeah, no, it's
So,
not a contract.
We need some of the older people who have a large voice here to maybe step up once in a while. It seems to always be the younger people.
I actually got a few emails saying that it was illegal if you guys to solve, and that the city needed to step in and appoint someone. I'm like, yeah, we can't do that. This is
Right.
like, as much as I love having the associations around, I can't, you know, force people into.
Sure.
You know.
So I have to run. So can tell the lawyer to tell them to email me, and I will make sure I will try. I will get it on the agenda.
Perfect. Thank you
All right.
so much for the time, and have fun.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.